Rahil had always dreamed of owning a quiet place far from the noise of the city. After many years of saving, he finally decided to look for a small house somewhere peaceful. One day, while browsing through an old property listing website, he saw photos of an abandoned house high in the mountains. The house looked old but beautiful. It stood alone among tall pine trees with a small stream flowing nearby. The price was surprisingly low, and that made him curious. He called the listed number, and an agent named Mira answered. She spoke kindly and told him that the house had been empty for almost 10 years. The previous owner had moved abroad and never returned. The local homeowners association, called the Hilltop Community Board, now looked after the property and was selling it on behalf of the owner. Rahil felt excited. He thought this could be his chance to start a new life away from city stress. A week later, Rahil drove up the narrow road that led to the mountain. The road curved through dense trees and the air felt fresh. When he reached the top, he saw the house for the first time. Its wooden walls were faded, and the roof looked a little broken, but there was something peaceful about it. It was as if time had stopped there. The view from the porch showed layers of green hills stretching far into the distance. Mira met him at the site. She showed him around the house, explaining how old it was. The wooden floors creaked when he walked, and a faint smell of pine filled the rooms. Sunlight entered through broken windows and made bright patterns on the floor. Rahil could imagine himself fixing the place slowly, painting the walls, planting flowers, and spending his evenings by the window watching the sunset. He asked about legal papers and ownership. Mira explained that the Hilltop Community Board handled all sales, and that they had full permission from the owner. She showed him documents and property tax receipts. Everything looked proper. Rahil trusted her words and the official papers she brought. 2 weeks later, he signed the deal. The process was slow because of mountain paperwork, but after many forms and signatures, the house was officially his. Rahil was proud. He took a photo of himself holding the keys in front of the door. It was his first home, something he earned with hard work. For the next few weeks, Rahil stayed at the house, repairing and cleaning. He fixed the broken steps, painted the doors, and replaced the old curtains with simple white ones. Every morning, birds sang near the windows, and every evening he made tea and sat on the porch, listening to the soft sound of the stream. He felt peace in his heart. Some neighbors from nearby cottages came to visit. They were few in number because the area was mostly quiet. An old man named Rehan, who lived at the bottom of the hill, told Rahil about the history of the mountain houses. He said many were built long ago when a small group formed the Hilltop Community Board. Over the years, some people left and some new ones came, but the board remained in charge of maintenance and rules. Rahil thanked him and promised to keep the place clean. Rehan smiled and said, "The mountain remembers everyone who lives here. Take care of it, and it will take care of you." 1 month later, Rahil received a call from his office in the city. They needed him for an urgent project that could take 3 months. He hesitated because he had just begun to love the mountain life, but the project offered a promotion and a better salary. After some thought, he locked the house carefully, informed the Hilltop office that he would be away for a few months, and left. He drove down the hill with mixed feelings. The mountain mist followed him halfway. He looked at the rearview mirror and whispered, "I'll be back soon." Back in the city, life became busy again. Work filled his days, and though he tried to focus, his mind often drifted back to the quiet mountain. He missed the smell of pine and the peaceful sound of wind through the trees. Every night before sleeping, he checked photos of the house on his phone. After 3 months, the project finished successfully. Rahil took a few days off and planned to return to his mountain house. He packed his bags, bought some fresh tools and plants, and even brought a small wooden nameplate that said Rahil's home. He wanted to hang it on the gate. The drive back felt exciting. The sun was bright and he could not wait to breathe the clean air again. But as he reached the top of the road, something looked strange. The small wooden sign that once said Hilltop Lane was replaced with a new metal one. The path to his house had been cleared and fresh gravel covered it. He smiled, thinking maybe the community had done maintenance while he was gone. When he reached the gate, his smile slowly faded. The gate was freshly painted black and a new lock hung on it. A new car was parked near the porch and he saw new curtains in the windows. He thought maybe someone from the community was cleaning inside. He walked closer, called out a polite hello, but there was no answer. Then a woman stepped out of the house carrying a box. She looked surprised to see him. "Can I help you?" she asked. Rahil blinked in confusion. Yes, this is my house, he said politely. I'm Rahil. I bought it a few months ago from the Hilltop Community Board. The woman looked puzzled. I think there's some mistake, she said softly. My husband and I bought this place 2 weeks ago from the same board. We just moved in. Rahil's heart sank. He thought she must be wrong. Maybe there was confusion between two houses. But then he saw his old handmade chair still on the porch, the same one he built himself. He pointed to it and said, I made that chair. I lived here. The woman looked uncomfortable. I'm sorry, she said. We have all the papers. Maybe you should talk to the board. Rahil nodded, trying to stay calm. He walked back to his car and sat quietly for a few minutes. The mountain breeze felt colder now. He took out his folder of documents and looked at the property deed with his name on it. Everything was clear, legal, and official. So how could it be sold again? He drove down to the Hilltop Community Board's small office near the base of the hill. The same sign still hung outside, but the door was locked. A note on the door said, Office hours changed. Please call for appointment. He called the number, but no one answered. As the sun began to set behind the hills, Rahil stood outside the closed office, holding his papers tightly. He felt a strange mix of confusion and disbelief. The peaceful mountain that once felt like a dream now felt uncertain. He decided to stay in the nearby lodge for the night. He told himself he would find out everything in the morning. He didn't know yet that what he was about to uncover would change his trust in people forever. The next morning, Rahil woke up early in the small mountain lodge. He did not sleep much during the night. Thoughts about his house kept running through his mind. He looked out of the window at the fog covering the trees and promised himself that he would not leave until he found the truth. After breakfast, he went straight to the Hilltop Community Board office again. This time, the door was open. Inside sat a middle-aged man wearing glasses, reading some papers. Rahil stepped in and said politely, Good morning, sir. I'm Rahil. I bought the mountain house a few months ago, but when I came back yesterday, I found new people living there. They said they also bought it from this board. The man looked up slowly and asked for the property address. Rahil gave it to him along with a copy of his ownership papers. The man adjusted his glasses, looked at the documents, and frowned slightly. This looks strange, he said. I don't see your name in our latest system records. Rahil felt confused. But these are the official papers, he replied. I signed everything here with your agent named Mira. The man sighed and said, Mira left the board 2 months ago. She was handling many old property files. Let me check in the back room. He walked away, leaving Rahil standing there nervously. The small office was filled with folders, dusty files, and maps of the area. The clock ticked loudly and every minute felt long. After some time, the man returned carrying an old brown folder. He opened it and said, Here's the record of that property. According to this, it was relisted for sale after the previous buyer failed to complete ownership transfer. Rahil looked shocked. That is not true, he said firmly. I completed everything. I have the receipt of payment and I got the keys. I even stayed there for weeks. The man looked uncertain. Maybe the file was never updated properly, he said. I can't say what Mira did before she left. She was responsible for your case and we no longer have contact with her. Rahil felt helpless. Can I meet your senior officer or the head of the board? He asked. The man said, The head, Mr. Kamal, is away for a few days, but you can leave your number. He will contact you once he returns. Rahil left his contact information and stepped outside. The sun was high, but the day felt heavy. He decided to visit Rehan, the old man who lived near the bottom of the hill. Maybe he knew something. When Rahil reached Rehan's small house, the old man greeted him warmly. You are back, son, he said. How was your work in the city? Rahil smiled faintly and explained everything that had happened. Rehan listened carefully, his face turning serious. I heard that new people moved into your house, he said quietly. I thought you might have sold it to them. Rahil shook his head. No, I would never do that. I was only gone for a few months. Rehan walked to his shelf and pulled out a small notebook. The Hilltop board has had some problems recently, he said. There were complaints about missing files and wrong entries. Some people said their land papers were changed without notice. I never got involved, but I heard such stories. Rahil felt a chill. So this happened before too? Rehan nodded. Yes, but people stayed silent because they did not have proof. The mountain houses are not well recorded. Many deals are handled by word and trust. Rahil took a deep breath. Then I must find proof, he said. I will not give up my house. That evening, Rahil went back to his car and drove to the town library. He wanted to find any public record about the property. The library was quiet and old, filled with tall shelves and dusty books. A kind librarian helped him find the local land records section. After hours of searching, he found the registration book from the year when he bought the house. His name was written there clearly. The date, payment, and witness signatures were all present. Rahil took a copy of that page. He felt a little relief, but questions still filled his mind. If the registration showed his name, how could the board sell it again? The next morning, he went to the local municipal office to meet the land officer. The officer was busy, but after waiting for some time, Rahil got a chance to speak with him. He explained the whole situation and showed the copied page. The officer read everything carefully. This looks like a genuine record, the officer said, but I see that a second entry was made later, marking a new sale. It was filed under a different transaction ID. Rahil asked, "Can you tell who filed the second entry?" The officer checked his screen and replied, "It says Hilltop Community Board, entered by staff code M27. That could be Mira's old ID." Rahil's eyes widened. "So Mira might have resold it after I bought it?" The officer nodded slowly. "It is possible, but you need official investigation to prove that. I suggest filing a written complaint to the regional property department." Rahil thanked him and left the office. He felt a mix of anger and sadness. He had trusted the board, trusted the people, and now he was standing in confusion again. But deep inside, he decided not to lose hope. On his way back to the lodge, he stopped by a small cafe. While drinking tea, he thought about what to do next. He decided to meet the couple who were living in his house again, not to argue, but to understand how they bought it. When he reached the house, he saw the woman again, and this time, her husband was with her. Rahil greeted them politely and explained his situation. The man listened carefully and said, "We bought it directly from the board. We also paid through the same account that Mira handled. She said it was a quick sale because the old buyer backed out." Rahil showed them copies of his own papers. The couple looked surprised. The woman said softly, "We didn't know anything about this. Mira never told us there was an earlier buyer." The man said, "We don't want trouble, but maybe we can go to the board together and ask for explanation." Rahil agreed. He thanked them and promised that he would not blame them. They were also victims of the same mistake. The next day, all three of them went to the Hilltop office. The same man with glasses looked nervous when he saw them. Rahil explained again that there were 2 sales for the same property. The man tried to stay calm, but his voice shook slightly. He said, "Please let us wait for Mr. Kamal to return. He handles such matters personally." Rahil nodded but warned gently, "If I don't hear from him soon, I will go to the property department." That evening, while Rahil was about to leave the office, the man whispered to him, "You should check the old storage room behind the board building. Some of Mira's old files are still there. Maybe you will find something." Rahil thanked him quietly and left. He waited until the office closed, then walked around the back. The storage room was small, filled with boxes and cobwebs. He switched on his phone flashlight and started searching through dusty folders. After some minutes, he found a file labeled "Property Transfer Pending, 14 Hilltop Lane." That was his house number. Inside, there were copies of both his purchase documents and another set with different buyer names. Both had similar dates and the same signatures from Mira. Rahil stared at the papers, his heart beating fast. It was clear that 2 deals were made for the same house. One was real and one was a copy. He took photos of everything with his phone. As he stepped out of the storage room, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned quickly, but no one was there. Only the sound of wind through the pine trees filled the air. He locked the room carefully and walked back to the lodge, holding his phone tightly. He now had proof that something was wrong. But he did not know yet who else was involved and how deep the problem went. That night, Rahil could not sleep. The photos of the files he found kept flashing in his mind. He knew now that the sale of his mountain house had not been a simple mistake. Someone had used his papers to create another deal, and Mira's name appeared on both sets of documents. The more he thought about it, the more confused he became. He needed answers, and he needed them fast. Early the next morning, he went back to the Hilltop board office, but it was closed again. A small notice on the door said that the office would open late due to maintenance work. Rahil waited outside for nearly an hour until the man with glasses, the clerk from before, arrived. The man looked surprised to see him standing there so early. "Sir," Rahil said politely, "I found something in the storage room behind this building. It shows 2 sets of sale papers for my property, both signed by Mira. Can you please tell me who allowed her to make 2 sales?" The man looked nervous. He adjusted his glasses and whispered, "Please keep your voice low. This is not something we discuss outside." He looked around carefully and then said, "Let us walk to the tea stall down the road. I will tell you what I know." They walked to a small roadside stall where a few workers were having breakfast. The man ordered tea and spoke in a low voice. Mira used to handle most of the board's property sales. She had access to all the files and records. A few months before she left, there were rumors that she made secret deals with outside agents. Some buyers paid her directly instead of the board account. When the head, Mr. Kamal, found out she disappeared, no one has seen her since. Rahil's heart sank. "So she took money from both me and the new buyers?" he asked quietly. The man nodded slowly. "That seems likely. She probably used the same house to collect payment twice, thinking no one would notice because one buyer was away." Rahil looked down, trying to control his emotions. He said, "But the board should take responsibility. I trusted your name and your system." The man looked ashamed. "You are right, sir. I'm truly sorry. Mr. Kamal is supposed to come back tomorrow. He is the only one who can fix this now." Rahil thanked him and walked away. He knew he needed to stay calm and gather more proof before meeting the head of the board. That afternoon, he went to meet the couple who were living in the house again. He showed them the photos of the double papers. The husband, whose name was Imran, looked shocked. "So we were also tricked," he said. "We gave all our money to the board thinking it was legal." Rahil nodded. "We both are victims, but I want to solve this peacefully. I don't want to blame you or cause any trouble. I just want the truth to come out." The woman, Amina, said softly, "Maybe we should work together. If the board really cheated us, then they must fix it. You have the proof and we can support your claim." Rahil felt thankful. "Yes," he said. "Tomorrow when the head comes back, we will all go together." That evening, Rahil visited Rayhan again to tell him everything. The old man listened carefully and said, "You have done well, son. The truth always takes time to come out. But be careful. When money's involved, people try to hide their mistakes. Keep all your proof safe." Rahil nodded. "I will. Thank you for always guiding me." When night came, Rahil sat in his lodge room going through the photos once more. He printed copies of the documents at a small shop nearby and arranged them in order. He even wrote down the timeline of events from the day he bought the house until now. He wanted to be ready for the meeting with Mr. Kamal. The next morning, he reached the Hilltop board office early. This time, the parking lot had more cars. A man in a dark brown coat was stepping out of one of them. The clerk hurried forward to greet him and said, "Sir, Mr. Kamal has arrived." Rahil recognized the name at once and walked up politely. "Good morning, sir. I'm Rahil. I bought one of your mountain houses some months ago. I need to talk to you about a serious problem." Mr. Kamal looked like a serious man with gray hair and a calm face. He asked Rahil to come inside. Rahil explained everything clearly, showing his papers, photos, and the proof he had found in the storage room. He also told him about the second buyers, Imran and Amina, and how they had also paid for the same house. Mr. Kamal listened without interrupting. After a long silence, he said, "I knew something like this might happen. Mira was trusted for many years, but she changed in her last few months here. We discovered missing records after she left, but we didn't know the full damage." Rahil asked, "So what will happen now?" Mr. Kamal said, "The board will take responsibility for the error. We will not let honest people suffer. I will call the couple who are living in your house and we will review both transactions. If you both have proper proof, then the matter will be settled through official procedure." Rahil felt slightly hopeful. "Thank you, sir," he said. Later that afternoon, Mr. Kamal called both Rahil and the couple to the office. They all sat around a large wooden table. The documents were placed in front of them. Mr. Kamal compared both sets of signatures, receipts, and transaction slips. After studying them carefully, he said, "Both payments went through the same personal account, not the official board account. This proves Mira was running her own side deals." Imran spoke up, "So what happens now?" "We paid all our savings for that house." Mr. Kamal said, The board will file an official fraud report and send all evidence to the property department. We will also contact Mira's family to locate her. Until then, both parties must not occupy the property. Rahil nodded. That is fair. But please, I just want justice. I worked hard for that house, Mr. Kamal replied calmly. You will have it. The law will decide ownership once the investigation is done. After the meeting, Rahil felt slightly relieved, but still uncertain. The case was now in official hands, yet it would take time to finish. He went back to the lodge, thinking about all the memories he had made in that house. He missed sitting on the porch and watching the sunset. That night, he received a call from an unknown number. When he answered, a woman's voice spoke softly. Rahil, this is Mira. He froze. Where are you? He asked, surprised. Mira said, please listen. I didn't mean for this to happen. I was in trouble. Someone from the board forced me to make those extra sales. I left because I was scared. Rahil's heart started racing. What are you saying? Who forced you? But the line went silent for a moment. Then Mira whispered, you are not safe. There are people in the board who don't want this truth to come out. The call disconnected suddenly. Rahil sat still, holding his phone tightly. Her words echoed in his mind. If she was telling the truth, then the fraud was not done by her alone. Someone inside the board was helping her. He looked out of the window. The mountain air felt heavy again. Somewhere beyond the trees, lights from the houses flickered faintly. He realized he had stepped into something much bigger than he thought. He opened his notebook and wrote down everything Mira said. He wanted to keep every detail safe. He decided that tomorrow he would visit the police station in town and share all the information he had. Before sleeping, he looked at the photo of his house on his phone. He whispered softly, I will get you back, no matter how long it takes. Outside, the mountain wind blew gently, carrying the smell of pine through the night. The mountain, once peaceful, now held secrets that Rahil had just begun to uncover. The next morning, Rahil woke up before sunrise. The call from Mira kept playing in his head. Her voice sounded frightened but honest. He knew she was not lying. Someone else was behind the fraud, someone with power inside the Hilltop Community Board. He decided to act before they could hide any more evidence. He dressed quickly, took his file of papers, and drove down to the small police station in town. The officer on duty was a kind man named Inspector Javed. Rahil introduced himself and explained the whole situation clearly, from the day he bought the house to the call from Mira last night. He showed all his documents, photos, and even the message log on his phone that showed the unknown call. Inspector Javed listened carefully and then said, You have done the right thing by coming here. This looks like a serious case of property fraud. I will start an inquiry at once, but we must be careful. If people inside the board are involved, we need solid proof before taking action. Rahil nodded. I understand, sir. I just want the truth to come out. The inspector took copies of all the papers and said, Do not tell anyone that you came here. Let me quietly check their records first. If what you say is true, we will call the board officials for questioning. Rahil thanked him and left the station. On his way back to the mountain, he felt slightly relieved knowing someone official was now aware of the matter. But deep inside, he still felt uneasy. Mira's warning about being unsafe repeated in his mind again and again. Later that afternoon, Mr. Kamal called Rahil to the board office. When he entered, he noticed two more people sitting inside. One was a woman who looked like a secretary, and the other was a man in a dark suit with a serious face. Mr. Kamal introduced him as the regional property auditor. Rahil, Mr. Kamal began, we have received your complaint and I appreciate that you are cooperating. We will do a full internal check of all property records. But until then, please do not spread rumors about corruption. The board's name must not be damaged. Rahil replied calmly, I am not spreading anything, sir. I only want what is fair. My house was taken and I have lost my savings. I will wait for the investigation to finish. The auditor looked at him and said, If what you say is true, the law will correct it. But remember, these things take time. Rahil left the office feeling both hopeful and cautious. He decided to visit Rehan again for advice. The old man was sitting outside his house repairing a wooden chair. When Rahil told him about the police report and Mira's call, Rehan looked serious. You must be careful now, he said. If Mira is afraid, it means someone is still watching the matter closely. Do not stay alone near that board office or your old house at night. Rahil nodded. I will be careful, uncle. That evening, as the sky turned orange, Raheel walked toward the mountain path near his old house. From a distance, he saw the light still glowing inside. The new owners, Imran and Amina, were living there peacefully. He did not want to disturb them, but felt comforted that someone was taking care of the house. While walking back, he noticed a small white paper lying near the gate. It looked like an envelope. He picked it up and saw his name written on it in neat handwriting. Inside was a short note that said, "Meet me behind the old store at 8 p.m. I have something you must see." And Raheel's heart began to race. It had to be from Mira. He waited until dark and then carefully walked to the old general store at the bottom of the hill. The area was quiet. A single streetlight flickered near the corner. A few minutes later, a woman wearing a long coat appeared. Her face was half covered with a scarf, but Raheel recognized her voice when she spoke softly. "Raheel, thank you for coming." He stepped closer. "Mira, where have you been? Everyone is looking for you." She looked around nervously. "I can't stay long." "Please listen. I never wanted to cheat you or anyone. Mr. Kamal forced me to handle fake deals. He told me to collect payments in my name and pass half the money to him. When I refused, he threatened to blame me for everything." Raheel was stunned. "You mean the head of the board himself?" Mira nodded. "Yes, he is the one controlling the false sales. Some other members know but keep quiet because they get small shares. When I tried to leave, I took copies of documents as proof. I hid them in a locker near the old cabin by the stream, the one close to your house. That proof can expose everything." Raheel asked, "Why don't you go to the police with it?" Mira said, "I tried, but I was followed. They know I have those papers. If they find me, they will destroy everything. That is why I need your help. You are honest, and you already reported the case. Take the documents and give them to the police," Raheel agreed. "I will do it. Tell me where exactly the locker is." Mira gave him a small key and said, "There is an old metal box hidden under the floorboard inside the cabin. Use this key. Please hurry before anyone else finds it." Before he could ask more, Mira looked around and quickly walked away into the dark. Raheel stood still, holding the small key tightly in his hand. The next morning, Raheel woke up early and went straight toward the stream area. The old wooden cabin still stood quietly under tall trees. He stepped inside carefully. Dust covered the floor and the smell of damp wood filled the air. He found the loose board in the corner and lifted it. Beneath it was a small metal box. He opened it with the key. Inside were several folded papers, photocopies of documents, and a small notebook filled with handwritten notes. The papers showed details of multiple property sales with the same pattern. The payments all went into Mira's account, but each page had a signature from Mr. Kamal approving the deals. It was clear proof that he was part of the fraud. Raheel took everything and placed it safely inside his bag. As he was about to leave, he heard the sound of footsteps outside. He froze. He peeked through the window but saw no one. The sound stopped suddenly. He stepped outside carefully and looked around. The forest was silent again. Maybe it was just an animal, he thought. But he didn't want to take any chance. He drove straight to the police station and handed the box to Inspector Javed. The inspector's eyes widened as he went through the papers. "This is strong evidence," he said. "With this, we can prove the fraud. We will question Mr. Kamal immediately." That evening, the police went to the Hilltop Board office. Raheel waited outside nervously as officers entered. He saw Mr. Kamal being asked questions by Inspector Javed. The other staff members looked shocked. The scene drew the attention of locals and whispers spread around the area. After some time, the inspector came out and told Raheel, "The documents you brought matched our earlier findings. Mr. Kamal and 2 other members are now under investigation. Mira's name will also be cleared once we confirm her role as a witness." Raheel felt a huge wave of relief. "Thank you, sir," he said. "I just wanted justice," the inspector smiled. "You did the right thing. It takes courage to stand up for truth." Later that night, Raheel returned to the lodge. He looked out of the window at the quiet mountain. The stars shone brightly in the clear sky. He thought about Mira and hoped she was safe. The next day, news spread through the mountain community. People talked about the corruption case inside the board. Many came forward with their own complaints. Some said they had also lost property money years ago. Raheel felt peace knowing that his fight had helped others too. But he still did not know what the final decision about his house would be. The case was under legal review, and until the court confirmed ownership, he could not move back. Still, for the first time in many weeks, he felt hopeful. He had faced lies, fear, and loss, but he had not given up. The mountain wind outside his window now felt calm again, as if it was proud of his patience. He whispered to himself, "The truth is strong. No one can hide it forever." He closed his eyes that night with a peaceful heart, ready to face whatever came next. Weeks passed since Rahil handed over the evidence to Inspector Javed. Every day he checked his phone and waited for news about the investigation. The mountain lodge felt quiet, but he spent most of his time planning what he would do once he got his house back. He thought about repainting the walls, fixing the porch, and planting flowers along the pathway. The mountain had become part of him, and he could not wait to return. One morning, Inspector Javed called him. Rahil's heart beat fast as he answered. The inspector spoke in a calm but cheerful tone. "Rahil, the investigation is complete. Mr. Kamal and 2 other board members have admitted their involvement in the fraudulent sales. Mira's name has been cleared and she is considered a witness, not a criminal." Rahil felt relief rush through him. "So what about my house?" he asked eagerly. Inspector Javed replied, "The property department has officially recognized your ownership. The fraudulent sale to the second buyers will be refunded by the board. You can move back to your house whenever you like." Rahil thanked him and promised to visit the office soon. He could hardly wait. He packed a small bag and drove up the mountain road. Every curve of the road felt familiar, every tree and rock welcoming him back. As he reached the top, he saw his house standing quietly among the pine trees. The new paint on the board's gate had faded a little, and the porch steps were worn, but it still looked like home. When he opened the gate with his own keys, he felt a deep sense of happiness. Nothing could replace the feeling of entering a place he had worked so hard to earn. The inside smelled faintly of pine and wood. Dust lay on the floors, but it did not matter. He felt that this house belonged to him again. Rahil spent the next few days cleaning and organizing. He moved the furniture back into the rooms, placed the curtains, and carefully fixed small broken areas. He even hung the wooden nameplate he had brought months ago. It read Rahil's home, and for the first time it felt right. The following week, Imran and Amina visited him. They had received their refund and were grateful that the board was resolving the issue fairly. "We are happy that justice is done," Imran said. "We only wish we could have enjoyed the house as you did." Rahil smiled. "Thank you for understanding. I am glad we handled this without anger. I hope you can find a home you love too." The couple nodded and promised to remain friends. They left, and Rahil watched them go. He realized that the mountain had not only tested his patience, but had also taught him forgiveness and understanding. One evening, Rahil saw Mira approaching from the forest path. She smiled softly, holding a small box. "I wanted to return this," she said. She handed him a wooden carving she had made months ago while cleaning the house. It was a small tree with mountains in the background. Rahil felt a warmth in his heart. "Thank you. It is beautiful." Mira nodded. "I am glad you got your home back. I hope the mountains now feel safe for you." Rahil smiled. "Yes, they do. And thank you for trusting me with the proof. Without your courage, this would have been impossible." Mira waved and disappeared back into the forest. Rahil felt grateful for her honesty and bravery. Days turned into weeks, and life returned to a peaceful rhythm. Rahil spent mornings walking along the stream near his house. Birds chirped in the tall pine trees, and the water reflected the blue sky. He often sat on the porch with a cup of tea, enjoying the quiet life he had always dreamed of. He also made small improvements. He planted flowers along the pathway, set up a small garden, and even built a swing near a tree where he could relax. Sometimes Rehan visited, bringing small gifts of wood or seeds for the garden. The old man smiled every time he saw Rahil happy. "You have made this place lively again," he said. Rahil often thought about the events that had brought him here. The mountain house had tested him, but it had also taught him courage, patience, and honesty. The fraud, the investigation, and the fear were all part of a journey that had made him stronger. One afternoon, as the sun was setting behind the hills, Rahil saw a few neighbors walking up the road. They had come to welcome him back properly. They brought simple gifts, fruits, and warm smiles. One of them, a young woman named Sana, said, "We are glad you have your home again. The mountains feel complete when you are here." Rahil felt a deep sense of belonging. He realized that a home was not just walls and furniture, but the care, memories, and relationships connected to it. He thanked everyone and invited them for tea. That evening, Laughter and conversation filled the house. The mountain echoed the warmth of human connection. As night fell, Rahil sat on the porch and looked up at the starry sky. The air was crisp and the mountains looked serene. He thought about the journey that had brought him here. The abandoned house, the betrayal, the investigation, and finally the return. Every step had been challenging, but the reward was worth it. He whispered softly to himself, "I fought for my home, and now it is truly mine." A gentle breeze blew through the pine trees, as if the mountains themselves were congratulating him. The stream nearby sparkled under the moonlight, and Rahil felt at peace. The house was no longer just a dream. It was a place of life, memories, and hope. In the following days, Rahil invited Imran and Amina again, this time as friends. They shared stories of their experiences, laughter, and even helped him plant a small tree near the garden. The act of sharing joy made Rahil feel that the mountain had healed all the pain from the past. Rahil also stayed in touch with Mira, who visited occasionally. She became a friend who had stood by the truth when it mattered most. Together they shared simple evenings of tea and storytelling, enjoying the calm mountain life. Months later, Rahil felt that the house had finally become a true home. Every corner reflected his effort, patience, and love. The porch where he had once felt nervous and uncertain now held memories of laughter and peaceful evenings. The small garden flourished and the pine trees seemed taller, welcoming him each day. One morning, Rahil woke up and walked along the stream. He looked at the mountains and thought about how far he had come. The journey had not been easy, but it had taught him the importance of courage, honesty, and determination. He smiled to himself, knowing that this house was not just a property but a symbol of perseverance and hope. Rahil sat by the stream for a while, listening to the soft sound of water and birds. He closed his eyes and felt gratitude for everything, the mountains, the neighbors, the friends, and even the challenges that had tested him. He realized that true peace comes not from avoiding problems, but from facing them with patience and strength. When he returned to the house, Rahil opened the front door and walked inside. Sunlight filled the rooms, and the faint smell of pine made him feel at home. He placed his hands on the wooden walls and whispered softly, "This is my home, and I will take care of it forever." That evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Rahil stood on the porch and watched the colors of the sky change from gold to pink. The mountains were quiet, the air was calm, and the house finally felt complete. He knew that no matter what challenges might come in the future, he had learned to face them with courage. The abandoned mountain house was no longer abandoned. It was alive with hope, friendship, and the laughter of a man who had never given up. Rahil smiled, knowing that the mountains had welcomed him back, and this time he would never leave. The stars appeared one by one in the dark sky. Rahil sat on the porch sipping tea and felt the mountains around him whispering softly. His journey had ended in justice and peace. The house was his, the community was his, and his heart was finally at home.